It's been a while since I made one of these, but we are finally back with another Final Fantasy Top 10 Countdown. Super bosses get all the attention. You spend hours, days, weeks grinding items, weapons, experience points, trying to get as strong as possible to take down the ultimate uber hard boss of the game. But what about the mandatory storyline bosses, the ones you have to fight? You remember your first time playing these games when you were just doing a basic walkthrough without grinding and messing out your stats? Most of the storyline bosses are a complete pushover. And then you get to that one boss you just can't beat. I still haven't played 1, 2, or 3, so if any bosses from those games should be on this list, we'll talk about them in the comments. I've been told many times that the final bosses of those games are very difficult to beat. Maybe one day when I get more free time, I'll check them out. So without further ado, this is my opinion, of course, the top 10 most difficult storyline bosses in Final Fantasy. Yes, I know that the first demon wall is optional, but the second one is not. It's nowhere near as difficult as the first demon wall was, but if you come here unprepared, you're going to have some trouble. You're supposed to use these switches to slow it down, but you've got plenty of time to kill the bastard. You can end this battle long before you reach the other end of the hallway. That is, if you can actually attack. Your main concern is those damn status effects. Unless you're playing the international version, I don't think you'll be able to block sleep and blind at this point. Which means you've got to waste time to kill the status effects. And by the way, the footage you're currently watching is indeed from the international version, which is how Barthea was immune to it, in case you're wondering. Eventually, he'll start using this special move that banishes one of your characters from the battle completely, and they cannot return. In all honesty, the second demon wall isn't that difficult. It's just that this was a completely new battle system for us, and this was the game's first hard mandatory boss. Unless you took time to get quickenings or the arrow reflect combo, this might be a problem. I haven't played Final Fantasy VII in such a long time that I almost forgot about this one. Here's the thing, if you're doing a basic run, by the time you reach this boss, you'll have about 2,000 to 3,000 HP. But his basic attack does over 1,000 to the whole group, and he uses it very often. But that's not the main issue with this fight, it's those goddamn cranes. You need to destroy these cranes immediately, because if you don't, eventually they'll pick up one of your characters. A fucked up way to die is when he picks up 2 of your characters and then he kills the last one. Even if your stats are kinda high, you do not want to toy around with this machine. Dismantle it ASAP.
Pitiful mortal.
Your hope ends here! And your meaningless existence with it!
Everybody knew this asshole would be on the list, but he's far from number 1. There are many storyline bosses way harder than him. And just a personal note, guys, this boss is the very reason why I play Final Fantasy today. I was at my friend's house and he was getting his ass kicked by this boss. This one needs no introduction. He uses zombie attacks on you and then he kills the character with full life. I'm pretty sure nobody bought holy waters because you never had to use them before. This is one of the 2 fights in the entire game where you're going to use it. And who would think to farm remedies on the hybrids to make auto medicine? If you summon the Aeon, he'll just banish it next turn. So if you plan on doing this, make sure you fill your overdrives before the fight. He should take over 9,000 from each one. And naturally, you want to save Bahamut for last.
Death awaits you.
He's got a few more tricks up his sleeve, like casting Reflect on himself and then bouncing the spell back to you, but that trick's getting a little old. Of course, the main challenge is beating him before he does this. Total Annihilation! I know I've said this over and over, but for fuck's sake, please learn how to use Riku. She's more than just jailbait, you know. I've only played Final Fantasy IX a few times, so I've still got a lot to learn. Although I beat this guy on my first try, I lucked out. And not only that, but my Garnet was pretty high leveled. Level 80 to be exact. I only have two major issues with this game. One, there's a lot of missables of course, and two, unfortunately, Ribbon doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Apparently, there doesn't seem to be a way to block all stats effects. Your main concern is Grand Cross. This thing does every stats effect in the game, including death and zombie at the same time. Which means, first, you need to heal the zombie effect, and then you need to revive them. That is sadistic. Garnet's Tread Summoning saved my ass in my blind LP, and everybody kept asking me why am I using both Garnet and Ico. Well, the thing is, it was my very first time playing the game, and if one white mage failed, I had another one for backup. All the damage came from Steiner and Zidane.
No more destiny, no more fate. Let's end this once and for all.
I don't care what anybody says, unless you grind in some form or another, this guy is pretty difficult to beat. In fact, during my LP of the game, everybody told me to save Caius for last. But no, I'm gonna beat him now because I wanted his weapon. What the hell was I thinking? The battle can get quite confusing at times. When he's a commando, you gotta attack him with physical attacks. When he's a Ravager, you gotta attack him with magic. He can heal his hit points, he can cast Bravery and Faith, he can hit you with stats effects. You know what? I don't have time for this. Unless I'm at a high level with all the best items and equipment, I don't think I can beat this guy without downloading a costume. The way I did it was fairly simple. Be Protect, do by half his health, and overlock him with crashing waves. If you hate this bastard as much as I do and you really want to be an asshole, just download Unis Summoner outfit.
There is no end to battle.
What the fuck is this thing? This is probably the ugliest boss they have ever created. And the story in this game just doesn't make any sense. I don't know what the hell is going on. Anyway, it took me many tries to beat this bastard. Eventually, the fight got easy, but then he started using his cheap death attack. Unfortunately, the only way to be safe from this attack is to collect the accessory that blocks death. But wait a minute, you need more than one. You need at least 2 or 3 of them, and then you want to upgrade it. It's actually kind of luck-based that he actually hits you with death, but I guess luck isn't on my side. Because every time he used it, my party leader got KO'd.
Sunshine.
You'll most likely have your ultimate abilities by this point, and once you learn how broken they truly are, eventually you'll beat the son of a bitch. Square must really love Final Fantasy IV. I mean, come on, how many times has this game been remade by now? I don't want to hear any more excuses why we can't get a remake of 7. I mean, if you can remake Final Fantasy IV about 4 or 5 times, then surely you can remake Final Fantasy 7 one time. Anyway, this is my favorite part, when Rita returns as an adult to fight Gobaz. Unfortunately, it was way too easy. That is, unless of course, you're playing the DS version. I was stuck on this fight for a very, very, very long time. In fact, I didn't think I'd ever get past it. I almost rage quit. There is a major change on the DS version. He changes his elemental weakness throughout the entire fight. You can either take time to leap at him to find out exactly what he's weak to, or stick to Bio. I recommend you stick to Bio. For the most part, it's just like the classic version. He kills all your party members, saving Cessa for last. Then Rydia arrives just in time to save the day. Unfortunately, her hit points are very low. It only takes 2 attacks to kill her. Another problem is that you need to revive your party members with Phoenix Downs, and he might knock them right back down shortly after. In this version, the enemies can actually hurt you. I think it'd be best if you just revive Rosa and have her and Cessa do the healing, while Rydia uses bio or elemental spells if you took time to find out exactly what he's weak to. Oh, and did I forget to mention that he can drain your magic points this time around? What a sick bastard. If you're really lucky, you might get Cecil and Rosa to cast Ultima. You can reach this fight around level 20, but you probably won't be taking them down until you're level 30 and above. Be prepared to watch those dolls dance over and over and over again, because it's going to take you quite a few tries to get past this bastard. It's impossible for me to choose one boss from this game, because they are all hard. All of them. Here's the thing. Leveling up in this game does absolutely nothing. All of your strength comes from your jobs. There's just one little problem. There are a lot of jobs, and most bosses have a special way they need to be fought. If you make it to a certain boss without the right jobs and abilities, you aren't going to have a chance of winning. And you don't start getting a lot of ability points until later on in the game. Not only that, but in most games, just before a boss fight, there's a save point. Oh no, not in this one. Unless you play the game many times, you'll never know when you'll get ambushed by a boss. And later in the game, you have to actually fight optional bosses to make save points appear. That was a dick move, especially considering the fact that the last save point is past Omega. If you plan on playing this game, be prepared to die a lot. Like I said, I can't just pick one boss from this game, so post in the comments the one that gave you the most trouble. Personally, for me, it was the first fight against X-Death. The only way I can beat this guy is by throwing all my gil. Just like Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy IV after years is pretty damn difficult, especially if this is your first time playing the game, because unfortunately this game has a lot of missables, and I mean a lot. The bosses in this game are very cheap, and most of them are going to piss you off, but eventually you'll make it to the final showdown with the mysterious girl, and you might be stuck here for a while. By the time you reach this fight, you'll be around level 40 or 50. But unless you're level 60, you'll be lucky enough just to survive her opening attack. And don't even think about doing this fight if you're not in the waxing moon phase. It's suicide. You're going to spend the first part of the fight healing. During this time, she'll be attacking you with all the strongest spells, including Flare and Holy. Eventually, you'll get fully healed. But now comes another problem. Mega Flare. Hey DK, just use reflect like normal, right? Oh no, that's just not gonna work this time. You see, just before Bahamut uses Mega Flare, the mysterious girl will negate all effects, including reflect. This means you need to be strong enough to survive it directly. Either that or take him out before he uses it. It does 3,000 damage to the entire party. And until you get to level 60, you most likely won't even have that much. Especially your magic users. And by the way, Rydia has to be in the fight. You cannot win this fight without Rydia. You can't, so don't try. I'm at level 70 and she still gives me a hard time. This isn't the final storyline boss of the game, but it's definitely the hardest. The creator sucked so bad I beat him on my first try without breaking a sweat. And I will never understand his motives. Personally, if I were to mass produce a bunch of hot looking girls, it wouldn't be for world domination. Okay guys, it's time for number 1. But seriously, we all know exactly who it is, unless you haven't played this game yet. And no, it's not Sephiroth. I beat that guy on my second try with a couple of meter rings. There's definitely going to be some debate about the choices on this list, especially since I haven't played 1, 2, or 3. But as of now, as far as I'm concerned, this is the hardest storyline boss in Final Fantasy.
Cocoon's nothing to you?
Was there any doubt that this bastard would be number 1? Fuck this guy. I lost count on how many tries it took me to beat him. And don't even try to beat this guy without grinding. Many people say he's easy once you max out your Crystarium. But why the fuck do you need to spend time grinding to beat a storyline boss that's placed halfway through the game? Even if you're maxed out, you're still going to break into a sweat. Now, if you're under leveled, you may think you can hold out until he eventually runs out of hit points. But no, you are on a time limit. If the fight goes on too long, he'll cast Doom on Lightning. The thing that makes this game so hard is the fact that once your party leader falls, you lose the fight automatically. What the fuck were you thinking? Why can't I control all 3 of my characters? You need to decide who you're going to use. Do you want Hope and Saz for buffing the party? Do you want Fang and Snow to deal damage and block his attacks? Or do you want Vanille to be a saboteur? It would be a much less headache if you have Shrouds, but at this point, those are hard to collect. So I hope you farm those at the beginning of the game. First, you need to deal with the small heads, because you can't hurt the big guy until you do. They all have a different elemental weakness, so it's a very good thing that this battle system is on autopilot. They gave you a lever scope before the fight for a very good reason. During this time, they'll be attacking you with elemental spells non-stop, so you're going to be healing a lot. Some of you may be too busy to notice this, but he actually puts the heads in haste and faith. They start with the level 1 spells, but as you destroy them, they use level 2 and level 3 spells. After you destroy all the small heads, then you can focus on the big guy. At this point, he doesn't seem too difficult at first, but he's constantly attacking the party with Ruin, so you're still going to be healing a lot. And don't forget about that damn left attack of his. It does about half your health, so you need to keep your hit points high at all times. This is sheer madness. I'm fighting a storyline boss placed halfway through the game, and yet I have to heal every 10 seconds. What the fuck? Eventually, he'll start powering up for his Destructo attack, everybody's worst enemy. Hey, no problem, right? We'll just heal up and use Sentinels like before. Oh no, that shit's not gonna work this time. I did a blind LP of this game when it first came out, and many of you have never seen it, so you missed my reaction. But don't worry, I saved all my videos, and here's a perfect reenactment. And you might want to cover your ears. Who the fuck came up with this idea? All this time, we've been switching to Sentinels to block a super attack. But now, you have to actually attack him while he's doing it. How the fuck were we supposed to know that? Especially when the Piggyback official strategy guide tells you to block it with Sentinels. If you attack him enough times, you'll lower the damage from Destructo. But it's still going to hurt a little bit. So you need to heal up and then start attacking them as quickly as possible. Somebody with way too much time on their hands found out a way to actually dodge it. You actually have to fight this asshole 3 times in the game, but I think the first fight is the hardest because your options are so limited. I have never had so much trouble beating a storyline boss before. You cannot beat this fucker without grinding. You can't. You cannot! Oh sure, I finally beat the son of a bitch, and now you give me an accessory that blocks all 4 elements, and I can get stronger? Fuck you!
Oh, yeah.